His jaw was chattering, his eyes were super bugged, and even my friend who was with me, she saw this demonic spirit manifesting in him.
Our world is torn about the existence of demons. Many believe in them, while others are convinced that they don't exist. This story contains both a believer and a skeptic, but at the end of it, they both have the same opinion. You'll see why one of them had to change their mind.
For a big portion of my time doing psychedelics, I had very beautiful experiences. For the whole start of it, I had very beautiful experiences where I felt like I was connecting with nature and with God and with the universe and with spirits. And I remember like I could see like the plants breathing. I could telepathically communicate with the animals. I could go deeper with people. And this is the refute I get a lot of times on my channel is people being like, I don't know how you saw demons on this because all I've had is beautiful experiences. Well, for me, for the first couple years of doing them, I had very beautiful experiences too. The devil comes and masquerades himself as an angel of light. Like he's not going to portray himself as he actually is. So I really think that it was when God started to call me out of this that I began to see the truth of it. And this is when I started seeing darker things, is because God was pulling me out of hell and removing the veil so I could see the truth and not just what the devil was masquerading it to be. And next thing I know, I'm seeing my friend manifest this like sea urchin demon. And I guess so I don't just like drop that and move on. There was one experience where I'm shamaning my friend through psychedelics, and we end up at this pond, and this guy there, he was kind of an acquaintance. He was in the group, and he starts having a panic attack, and he's like, Michaela, can you please lead me through some breaths? Like I'm really not feeling myself right now. And so at this point, I'm thinking like, that's my purpose. That's what I'm born to do. Like, I got you. So he lays down and I'm leading him through breaths because at this point, I'm a private yoga instructor. Like I'm meeting people like, this is what I do now. I make money doing this. So I'm leading him through breaths. And as my eyes are closed, I'm seeing in my mind's eye, like the depths of the ocean around him. And I'm seeing dead things, skeletons, like the depths of the ocean. And it was really weird, but I'm just continuing to breathe with him and like guide him through these breaths. And when he comes back up, he's not himself. And now I look back, it's like a sea urchin demon had taken him over. His jaw was chattering, going way like side to side, like way out past how it should be maneuvering. His eyes were super bugged. And even my friend who was with me, she's not a believer. She'd never seen anything spiritual like this before. She saw the same thing that I was seeing. She saw this demonic spirit manifesting in him. So this was one of the first things I'd seen as God beginning to remove the veil of the truth of what I was doing and of the portals that get opened with psychedelics and these new age yogic meditation practices. And it continued on like that. There was another experience that you asked me about where I'd left this fiance, the guy that I was with through college, and I moved out into my own apartment, and I'm kind of having this life crisis because I'm trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do with my life? Like, what is my purpose? And so my God at this point was tarot cards and psychedelics. Like anytime I had a question, I would resort to them. And so I asked this question. This was my intention. And I ate the psychedelics, the mushrooms, and I ended up having just another trip from hell where like I thought I was going to get clarity on my purpose, and it ended up being like a full-blown alien encounter. So I don't know if you want me to tell that story as well about the aliens.
Before we get into that, I had a question about the previous story because I want to ask about the alien encounter for sure. But the other story where you saw the sea urchin, I don't really know what that is, but the question I have is, were you all on drugs at that time? And the other question also, well, it's not necessarily a question, but what I find interesting is a lot of people would say when you're on psychedelics, it's a reflection of your subconscious. But that is, doesn't make any sense in this context because you were two different individuals witnessing the exact same thing. But you were under the influence of something at that time.
Yeah, I was on mushrooms on that day. He was on ketamine. my community started getting into the rave scene. And as they started getting into the rave scene, they started doing harder things like ketamine, things I wouldn't even do. But at that point I was cool with mushrooms. So yeah, I was on mushrooms when I saw this one. And my friend who also saw the same thing was on mushrooms. But you brought up a great point, is like, this was not a reflection of me and my subconscious, because she saw the same thing in him that
Mhm.
I saw.